Hey everyone, I hope you guys are having a good Tuesday. I am going to come on and again, like yesterday, try to get through this without sneezing or coughing or something. I've been gifted the cold by the girls and so far so good today. But I wanted to come down today and chat a little bit about the stress response. And I'm going to share a couple of HTMA tests, the hair tissue mineral tests, to show you the differences that I see coming in with clients and how we use the hair tissue mineral analysis to assess your ability to tolerate stress, your resilience. It's basically your fingerprint about what your response is to the different stressors in the world. So first, I just wanted to quote the great 𝗁𝗂𝗽𝗍, who is a pioneer in the stress response. And when we talk about stress, just so we can actually define it, stress within the body is a non-specific response that allows the body to adapt to its environment to maintain homeostasis or balance. So when we look at a hair tissue mineral analysis, it's looking at a snapshot over the last 3 months in time. That is showing us what has the body's stress response been like over the last 3 months, which is different than looking at a serum or a blood value that's not going to give you that same type of a measure. When we look at minerals, we're looking at them not in isolation for their actual amount within the body. We're looking at them in relationships to each other, and that gives us insights into, again, how the body is tolerating stress. So when I look at hair tissue mineral analysis, I'm looking at that test in collection with a microbiome assessment along with lots of conversation with the client and finding out where did stressors begin, what has childhood been like, what has your early motherhood experience been like. All of these things layer in to create our stress response. It's our past experiences, it's how our parents taught us to handle stress, it's how we watched them model how they handle stress, it's how we watch society handle stress and any type of mentors or friends that we've seen model stress response. And then it's just what we've dealt with in our life. How much trauma have we cataloged over our lifespan? And what has that done to mold our stress response? Because all of this goes into how minerals are represented within the body. And if this all sounds very voodoo to you and doesn't sound grounded in science, it really is quite grounded. And I will tell you this, that hair tissue mineral analysis makes a huge difference once you start affecting minerals in the body, because each mineral has a physiological role. Now, different than vitamins, which can be made endogenously, minerals cannot. And our environment is not set up for mineral repletion at all. Look at our soils, farming practices, our food supply, our continued stress level, which was what my post was about today, which is always elevated. And then just our ability to take in the nutrient-dense food that we need regularly. Our ability to balance our blood sugar, our ability for our liver to detoxify itself. All of these things affect our mineral balance within the body. Now, if we are not always on top of those things, which it's hard to be, we can become depleted very quickly. And in fact, a lot of the kids testing that I've done, in fact, even my own kids that I've tested who have always had a very nutrient-dense diet, they came back depleted and they need support. So it's not just like you're eating, terrible food all the time and you can be depleted. You can be eating quite well. In fact, many of my clients are eating quite well, but come to me and are very depleted and experiencing all of the symptoms of it. So first thing, let's dig into this post this morning and talk about the kind of the whys behind it, because I can't put all my words into one post. It would be way too long anyway. So, all right, so this is just a slide deck talking about how minerals play a key role in our stress response. Minerals, like I said, you cannot make them inside your body, and they are the triggers to all types of enzymatic reactions within the body. They are our spark plugs for our thyroid. They also are responsible for triggering hormone production. And when minerals get out of balance or become depleted, that is then the next step goes into hormone dysfunction. Minerals and hormones are quite closely intertwined. You can't have one in balance or even in check without having the other one, okay? All right, I'm just gonna be wiping my nose. I'm sorry, that's just how it is today. Sorry, this just got this cold, so we're just gonna get through it. All right, so Fight or flight is one of the things that we are all in at times. And that makes sense. Like you lose your noodles with your kids. That's a fight or flight response. Your boss tells you you have a deadline, or you are working towards something and you just feel really pressed, or you're constantly in a hustle. We all remember those early years of motherhood where we're just constantly hustling from one moment to the next. It's like one meal is done, now it's this activity, then it's another meal, and you're just constantly all day long. And then you get up and you do the same thing the next day. That is constantly in fight or flight. When we are in that constant state, it doesn't make sense to say, oh, well, you just need to stop that, because you can't, right? You can't just like halt it, but we can use hacks to intercept that stress response. So what I like to recommend is take 2 to 3 sets, going back towards like exercise thought, 2 to 3 sets of intervals of 5 to 10 minutes of where you are intercepting the stress response. So where I said in here, decompression before, so 2 bouts of 10 minutes of decompression before the stress response occurs. So if you know the midday is just constant push for you, it's a hustle, it's your tendency to overeat during that time, or mindlessly eat or mindlessly snack, or you get inappropriate hunger cues during that time, then do 2 10-minute bouts in the morning where you go step out in the sun, or even if you take your laptop and you're working and you work outside if you have that ability. If you don't have that ability, I gave some examples within the content itself and said a cup of tea on the porch. So get a cup of green tea, get tulsi tea, ashwagandha, holy basil, any of these really beautiful teas, hibiscus tea, and go on the porch in the sun. If you can't leave the house, if you have young kids at home, you know, give them an activity and go step outside for 5 to 10 minutes and just get the sun on your skin. Don't wear sunglasses, no hat. Help your body just bring down that stress response, or prepare it to build up better resilience for when the stress response occurs. If you can, if you're at work, take a trip out to your car to go put something in the car, you know, if it's in the parking lot, or if you have to leave intentionally in the morning, leave something in your car that you have to run and go get at a certain time that'll motivate you to get up and do something. A short walk outside, if you can step out. Go down the road 5 minutes, turn around and come back. It does not have to be an elaborate thing. I don't care if you're wearing flip-flops. Just go down the road and come back, and that's it. That little bit of time, and the less barriers they are, the more likely you're going to do it. 10 minutes of a 10-minute meditation you can look up on YouTube. You can do the Calm app. You can do Headspace, and just a 10-minute meditation to bring down, get out of the fight or flight. And like I said, this is in preparation for that lunchtime one. Or jump on a mini trampoline. It's like the best one for you. Just get them on Amazon, really affordable, and you can just fold it up, put it under the bed, or it's really space friendly as well. Okay, and then you add a 10-minute bout before sleep. So this is when you do oils, essential oils, hugs, cuddling, reading, connecting with your kids. If you have children at home still, if you don't, anything to reconnect you with yourself. Gratitude journaling with your partner. Anything that will, again, just kind of bookend the day, that you are now bringing yourself in a prepared state for you so you can rest. So we don't usually think about training to rest better. Well, if you're always in a state of fight or flight and your minerals are completely depleted, then you need to be preparing for rest, because that's something that your body needs for healing. Okay, so we talked about how magnesium is the first mineral depleted during stress. I did not put in here mineral supplements or magnesium supplements because it can cause further depletion. This is really important to keep in mind, that magnesium is an important mineral to supply, but it makes sense, unless you're working with a practitioner, to always start with food, especially if you're very depleted, because it can further throw off minerals. They all work in conjunction. So start with cooked leafy greens. Cacao, avocado, bone broth, dairy are all good sources of magnesium. And depleted magnesium drives a poor stress response. You will notice that's the first thing people say turns around, is that magnesium, once it comes up, your stress response automatically improves. And then blood sugar also will become quite dysregulated when magnesium is depleted. So other things that you can use as interventions in addition to mineral-rich foods are Epsom salts, some foot soaks. So if you can't run a whole bath or you don't have a bathtub, just get a pot, put some Epsom salts in it, and put your feet in it. This could be a part of your stress resolution at the end of the day, where you do your gratitude journal and you are soaking your feet at the same time. Excuse me. You can also do magnesium sprays. I like Ancient Minerals is a really good site to look at. They have very good quality products, and magnesium sprays are quite effective. If you have sensitive skin, you might need an additional oil to protect you from the itchiness that can occur with magnesium sprays at times. Okay, of course I didn't bring any water. Like yesterday, I did the same thing. I have a cold and I don't bring water to a live, but I may have to get up and get some. But let's keep going. So in order to replete these mineral losses and to bring the body back into a better state, we're going to look for sources of stress. So food toxins is a big one. I had 2 posts this week on food toxins and how when I look at foods for my children, for myself, for clients, I'm always looking at what is the way that we can cause our body the least amount of stress by the food that we're consuming. If we are consuming foods that have known toxins, even if they're societally acceptable, especially this time of year, you are going to put your body into a further state of stress, especially if they drive more blood sugar dysregulation. I got to get some water, guys. I'm going to take you with me. If we are in perimenopause and you are struggling with symptoms, it is definitely the time to pay really close attention to the foods that we're taking in, because even though in some ways of thinking or some schools of thought, it's considered to be extreme or unnecessary or orthorexic, but I'll tell you what, if you are in that thought process and you've never experienced the ill health that's been brought on by having mineral imbalances, by being a chronic state of stress, you will not look at it the same way. So think about food as a way to minimize our sources of stress and to support our bodies. When you look at it that way, it's not a weird thing. It's not extreme. It's not abnormal to say no thank you to things that are commonly thought to be treats, right? Our Halloween treats, which really just mess up our bodies for months. They can drive fasting blood sugar up for months, not just for the time that you have the handful of candy corn. It goes on for months. And if you're already in a state of dis-ease within the body, you're just going to drive it up more. So what's the point in that? That makes no sense, right? So these are things that once we embrace these thought processes, then we can share this with our children. We embody the role as role model, and we can then carry these actions forward. So sources of stress, we said food toxins, blood sugar imbalance, talked a little bit about that. Poor sleep hygiene. So this is like scrolling our phone at night. I used to read on a Kindle at night in college. Really bad idea. It's just like even having a bright light next to the bed. You could swap out a light. Those of you that are just getting on, I have a cold. That's why I'm dying, but this is important for information. Swapping out the light bulbs for like a dimmer light bulb or a red light and reading to that, and wearing blue light blocking glasses, cool room, completely dark, nothing stimulating at night, ending your meals 2 hours before bedtime. All those things are supportive of better sleep hygiene. Toxic relationships, those are like your friends that are always whining and complaining about everything all the time, or that you're always listening to different news sources that are always talking about all of the toxic soup that's in our world right now. Yes, it's important to be informed, but if you're saturating yourself in that, it is no bueno for your minerals, and it will drive depletion patterns. If you're in toxic relationships with your family, friends, anything like that, that will drive down minerals. And just not enough nutrients in general, right? You go through spurts of eating, quote, healthy food, but the rest of the time you're eating on the run, you're eating not enough food, right? You're trying to lose weight, so you're cutting back on foods and not eating enough. All of these things go into depleting mineral patterns within the body and driving deficiency. And this exaggerates the stress response. And if this exaggerates the stress response, the cycle perpetuates. So you have to go through There's multiple roots to this. Everybody talks about the root cause. There's never one root cause. There's multiple root causes. So you kind of need to look at all the different angles. All right, so then we want to eat to support blood sugar stability. Our goal is not to eat to boost it up, right? So back when I was first started training decades ago, it was like the 6 mini meals per day, to boost our metabolism and keep our blood sugar humming, and really not realizing that it was just really screwing us up big time. I mean, that was back in the bodybuilder mindset, muscle and fitness days. But think about skipping restriction. In fact, my client Amanda posted on this morning that she's been amazed at how just eating 3 meals a day, 3 sufficient meals per day, she's not needing to snack. And anything that has calories in it is a snack. So that couple bites of your kid's snack after they have it mid-afternoon, that dysregulates our blood sugar, right? We don't need that. Now, everybody starts in a different place, and that's not a blanket statement for everyone. For some clients, I put snacks in, but for other clients, we pull them out. It all depends on where you are and what your blood sugar stability is like, what your minerals look like, what your stress state looks like as well, and whether or not you can tolerate a sufficient meal at once, whether your digestion can tolerate it. And that's where it comes back to gut testing. But in general, think about eating sufficient meals. So this comes back to like following the 1,200 calorie meal plan, that you're like dying at 2 o'clock in the afternoon because your first 2 meals were not enough to feed a second grader. Like, you have to eat. And you don't want to go from eating 1,000 calories a day to eating 2,000 calories a day, because that's going to screw up your blood sugar. So you just got to step it up. But in general, let's talk about general, because it can get very overwhelming. Always having a protein with a fat or a carbohydrate, always having a carbohydrate with a fat or a protein, always having them together. Even if you're eating snacks now, never just the apple, have it with a source of protein fat. That's where the almond and the apple came together, right? It still will work. It's not super powerhouse ideal, but it still will work. And thinking about minerals and micronutrients that support blood sugar, it's not just carbohydrates, protein, and fat. So it's all of the micronutrients. And that's where you look at what is the food quality, what is this nutrient density, the dark colors, the leafy greens, the organ meats, all of those things that may be a turnoff right now to you. Learn to love them, because they will transform your body, your external appearance. They will also transform your life performance, and they will help to decrease the stress response, because you're not going to be hungry. Your blood sugar isn't going to be all over the place. Okay, so one of the key minerals for blood sugar stability is calcium. It's necessary for insulin release. So you're going to look for bone-in fish. This is like sardines, right? Sardines with bones. Don't look for boneless, bone and skin. They're quite good. And if you mix them into like a tuna salad with a little bit of avocado oil, mayonnaise, apple, celery, whatever you prefer in there, it's very good. I make them for my kids and they love them. And then look for a dairy if you can tolerate dairy, grass-fed dairy, whole-fat dairy. Any of the fermented dairy is going to be best for you, and that's quite good for calcium. Eggshell and pearl powder, bone broth, and cooked leafy greens are all good sources of calcium. Many other minerals go in to support blood sugar stability. I was just highlighting one. All right, and then we want to move to build our bodies, right? I saw something the other day. It was move to grow, not to shrink. And I love that, especially for women. There is so little risk of you becoming big, bulky, and masculine by lifting weights. We all should know this by now. It's quite untrue. Even if you can put on, like I put on muscle really easily, I would have to eat massive quantities of food to become big and muscular like my husband is. It's not going to happen. But as we get older, you will rapidly lose muscle mass. You will rapidly lose power capacity. So start with the 5-pound dumbbells if you have them, and then continue building. In fact, one of my clients this morning, who I absolutely adore, and she has worked so hard, we did her a 12-pound dumbbell workout this morning, and she started with 3s and 5s and has just continued to continually progress. And she's postmenopausal, and she's continuing to get stronger. We need strength for life. We need strength for stability within the body. The stronger you are, the more stable you are, because your body can be held in a much better position. I have a new client who came to me and said her only goal is to transition from a chair to standing without pain. That's a novel goal, and it requires strength. Like, you have to be able to control your pelvis, your spine, your thorax. All of that requires strength. Excessive cardio, too much high intensity training, like the marathon training and all of that. There may be many people that can tolerate it, but if you're watching this and you feel in a state of depletion, it's likely not you. And that's okay, because there's lots of exercise. Like, I can't tolerate it anymore, but there's lots of exercise that you can do. And that's something that you should look towards and think about it. Just reframe it, right? Building strength, building capacity, not to burn calories. So if the trackers throw you off mentally, get rid of them, right? Just get an old Timex and use that. Get rid of the tracker if it's psyching you out to only burn 200 calories on your watch during a strength workout versus 600 on a run. It's the long game that we're playing for, the long run. High intensity training will drive down minerals, especially potassium. It will tank it big time. It's needed to help us, potassium's needed to help us store glucose in the liver and improve hydration. If we have low potassium, many things are off. We bloat easily when you drink. We can't store glucose well, which means we don't have backup stores of energy, which means we get hypoglycemia quicker. So drink coconut water, potatoes, plantains, winter squashes, fruit, aloe vera juice. There's different recipes to use that. Are just some sources of potassium. Just a few. There's many, many, many sources. Avocado is another one. But include those food sources in. And when we run hair tissue mineral analysis tests, there are certain supplements that I use. I use a custom mineral powder from a company that is building these. We build these mineral powders to everyone's HTMA, so they're all different. And it's very, very important that you don't go out and just start supplementing with supplements, because you can drive everything off. If you have too much magnesium, it can drive down copper. And that's really dangerous, right? You can throw off all of your minerals. So be really mindful of that. Always work with a practitioner and find out what makes sense for you, because the most important thing is not getting rid of the stress. It's how are we going to respond to the stress in a better way? Because especially during motherhood, or for working women, you don't have to quit your job. You don't have to quit your motherhood experience, and you don't have to just resolve to the fact that you're going to feel terrible. It's how do we improve our response to the stressors in our environment? And this is where minerals can make a big difference. All right, I don't have the minutes to show you a test today because I got to jump off for a call. But if you want to see those, I will show you one tomorrow. Maybe I'll even do a post on one. I'll show you one tomorrow and show you the difference in how these mineral tests look and what they actually represent within the body, and then how we can use this as a tool, one tool, to help to improve our life experience, because that's what it's all about. We don't want to feel like crap all the time. We want to feel more energetic and function really well. All right. I made it through without sneezing, coughing, or anything gross, so that's good. I will see you guys later, and I hope you have a good rest of the day.